This is the illustration I've done in 2011. One of the very early dissection drawings as well. One of the very first. And the funny thing is, I'm already dissecting myself here. The bunny suit, which was the rabbit eye movement. Yeah. With 19, I had a dream of a rabbit telling me that I'm supposed to be painting like a madman. He literally told me that's my purpose.
Get busy.
Get busy, he said, pretty much, yeah.
Nychos, welcome to Not Real Art.
Oh, thank you.
Man, I'm so grateful to have you here.
Same, I'm happy to be here. Happy to answer all the questions.
How are you feeling, man? I mean, the last 3 years have just been insane for everybody, and you in particular.
Oh, well, tired.
Yeah.
Right now, but also like I can tell there's a huge shift happening. I mean, I believe with all of us, but this is, like a chapter is coming to an end of 3 years of me sitting in the studio focusing on painting this show.
Yes, yes. Well, to set the stage a little bit, let's talk about where we're at in the show right now, because we're at Mirror's Gallery in Los Angeles, and some people might know Mirror's for their space in San Francisco, and I think their space in Denver, and here. So we're here in the LA space. We're sitting amongst just a few of your paintings in this show that I think has over 100 pieces in it, right?
Over 100 paintings, and then a bunch of immersive stuff and sculptures and loads of drawings. Yeah, and
NFTs.
And NFTs, yes.
Of course, you got it. We'll get there. We'll talk about that. Yeah. So okay. So here we are at Mirror's Gallery. We're sitting in your show. It just opened February 22nd, right, of 2022.
Yeah, all the twos.
A lot of twos.
Yeah, on purpose, clearly.
Right. And I guess it's open until May 1st. Early May? May 2nd.
Maybe I think it's extended to end of May now.
Okay, nice. Yeah. Good. I feel like it should be May 22nd, given all the twos, but.
Yeah.
So, congratulations
on
the show. It's quite epic. I mean, I knew it was a good sized show, but as I was just walking through, it's like a labyrinth of discovery. And of course, the show itself is called Awakening, right? And there's a lot of, like the rest of, like all of your work, there's a lot of levels and layers to it, to this idea of awakening. And as I understand it, and you've been on a personal journey over the last few years, as so many people have been, but you've awakened in many ways within yourself, and I think have kind of given birth to this body of work. Now, we should say that this exhibit includes some retrospective work, so not all of the canvases are brand new, but most of them are.
Yes, but it's the funny part is it's also a huge part of this awakening process. Looking back, I started to understand that the whole process already started much earlier. So some of those paintings in the show are very important for this whole thing and how it developed. So it made sense to show them too, especially in LA. I had never had a show in Los Angeles yet. So I was saving up. It's like, I want to show the bigger picture of it all. Yeah.
Sure. The evolution and the journey of your identity as an artist, perhaps.
Well, yeah. Long story, but
we've got all
short.
the time. It's a podcast, so take all the time you want.
I mean, I got famous as a muralist with the dissection work, with the anatomy work I've been doing, and like ripping bodies apart. I feel like that's most people feel about it, and it's like, okay, there's some aggressive stuff happening. I personally didn't even see it that way. Maybe some, but it was more like, how should I say, like I definitely felt like I'm entering my personal interest and nerd level when I start dissecting figures or animals and showing the anatomy and stuff like that. So and painting that with spray paint on large scales was definitely a lot of fun. And I had the feeling that I had a huge release during that. So I definitely entered the state of flow during painting big walls, and I still do, clearly. But I could tell already that it had a lot to do with me trying to filter something out of me. A lot of, I guess, especially to the earlier anatomy works and how it had progressed. And on the walls, I could feel there was some certain like anger I put in, but I really enjoyed to release it, you know. So that I started doing that kind of work in 2011, and I felt like I was really like, okay, this is fun. I'm having this great experience here, right? So, and then clearly like me drawing, getting into it, listening to a lot of heavy metal music, and really getting the drive, and I was like, yeah, you know, this is great, and suddenly, well, we made a documentary, The Deepest Depths of Bora, in 2013, and this year I did 5 solo shows. I mean, by far not as big as this one, but let's just say I didn't do anything, it's just paint. And I understood that somehow there's a need to let go of something. And that was my attempt to filter through whatever I was carrying. Like, and I was never like a super angry person, I was not aggressive or whatever, but there was something with me I couldn't really understand, and there were you know, everyone goes through like experiences with like with friendships or relationships or whatever. There's always like triggers you don't see right away, and I didn't see it at all. You know, I could tell when I was painting, especially in the studio, that all those thoughts and things which happened in the past with certain people were coming up, you know, and I was like, why is this even still concerning me? This has been 3 or 4 years already. But so in 2015, I had we just released The Deepest Depths of Bora as this documentary, which was very successful, and I'm super happy that I could share this.
Where can people find the documentary?
Oh, you find it on Vimeo and on YouTube.
Okay.
We made it free to watch for everyone eventually.
Great.
And then I had a bicycle accident in Vienna, not far from the Rabbit Eye Movement art space, and it kind of like cracked my neck, and I was like, oh, I want to go on tour and paint, and then my shoulder was kind of messed up and my neck was weird, but the pain disappeared. But I realized I was entering a completely new phase of whatever I've been, you know, first I've been dissecting stuff and like all the layers, so you see the anatomy. Suddenly I started painting a lot of translucent see-through works, you know, like those ones you see over here. And there was definitely more dark energy in it, more aggressive stuff, but also I started to enter a phase where there was a lot of like, with this translucent work, there was already a lot of spirit energy in it, where I later found out that this is very much connected to what's brewing inside of me. But at that point, I was just having fun, right? In 2016, I got very sick. My digestive system didn't work anymore, and after my show in New York with Jonathan Levine, somehow I didn't. At the beginning, it felt like I'm stuck in this endless hangover.
And just to be clear, so the illness that you were having at that time, that was 3 years after the bike accident?
1 year.
One year. So were they
yeah.
connected at all?
No.
No. Okay.
Okay. I mean.
So you recuperated pretty well from the bike accident. It was scary. And
I later found out it was connected. At this point, that I just thought I had some.
Right.
You know, it was a bike accident. Yeah. So because what happened was my digestive system gave up completely. Everything I ate fell through within 10 minutes. The amount of pain I cannot describe. You know, you can literally identify, well, oh, I just ate this
Wow.
10 minutes
How
ago.
scary.
Yeah, it was, and with that, you know, when the digestive system can't gain any energy from the food, the immune system is the next to go, and then I kind of like spiraled down in more sickness. Then the digestive system completely messed up. The gut flora has no power. At that point, everything comes in. You know, parasites, blah blah blah, and I was on a journey of trying to find doctors who can help me or can tell me what I have. I started to lose hair, and I felt like I was more and more congested all over the place. My body was just completely, I felt like I was rotting from the inside. That's pretty much how it felt. And in 2017, I was already on a point where I was like, I'm gonna die. Yeah, this was like really on the point where I was like, nothing can help me. I also understood if anyone can help, then it's me, just myself, like facing this.
Nychos, how old are you at this time when this is happening to you?
33, 33, yeah,
Wow.
or 34, something like that. I went paint walls. I was fine during painting walls mostly, and then it kind of like broke down on me again. And I lived in San Francisco at this point. I just moved to SF, and like when you have no immune system, San Francisco is the wrong place to be. Eventually, after 2 years, so around end of 17, I ended up in Los Angeles, and it was also, I was broke at that time too, because whatever I tried to control, was not happening for me with money on that point or whatever, and I found a pretty cheap studio in LA, and I rented that place, and then a job fell through, and I'm like, I cannot even afford the rent right now. Do I have to go back to Austria now? What's happening? It's like, it's been very intense. And then on this point, luckily, the universe was doing its job. And the same day I got a job, and that was the starting point of like, finding some roots in Los Angeles. But yeah, I was in LA for 6 months or something, very bad. And I was on a point where I'm like, I could even do psychedelics now, because it doesn't really matter anymore. All the fear I feel inside of myself doesn't really matter what happens to me, because it seems like I'm dying anyways. And then a lot of like realization comes in, a lot of facing fears, a lot of stuff is like, okay, the only person who can do this is me, because we also die alone. So who can help me if I cannot help myself? And that lot of like understanding of what's happening is, because literally no one could help me. Like also.
Yeah. So just to be clear, because I mean, you still don't know exactly what's happening. Nobody has diagnosed you at this point.
No, nobody. Everyone was like, "You are fine. You're just in stress." And I'm like, "I'm in stress because my belly doesn't work, and my hair is falling out, and all that stuff." And then at some point in like early 2018, I got a message by a shaman. Like maybe one of my friends has connected me, and I could literally feel, like, I saw the message, I'm like, okay, this is getting interesting because I was desperate. I was open already. Maybe I have to go to a shrink. Maybe it's a mental thing, whatever. I also started doing that in Europe. So back then I just flew back and forth, and so yeah, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. You know, I have nothing to lose. Right now, there's literally, I give up all the control because clearly my mind cannot make sense out of it. And then I went to this place outside of LA, and I did the so-called toad medicine, or
Can you say that again? What is
toad medicine.
Okay,
Yeah.
what is that?
It's 5-MeO DMT, also called Bufo alvarius.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
Well, it's you can say it's like ayahuasca,
Okay.
but stronger with a 5-MeO inhibitor. You know, it's just it's ayahuasca is a brew which, you know, goes deep and you dance with your soul and the serpent itself. I'm going way too deep into details.
Yeah, but ayahuasca is, as I understand it, kind of an organic, natural process. You know, you extract it from the bark of a tree, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Yes, and then
the toad it comes from a toad. It's a defense mechanism from a toad.
Gotcha.
The Sonoran River toad.
I think there's a great Family Guy episode where
He licks the
they
toad.
lick the frog.
Yeah, that's a different thing.
Whole other
but
podcast. Sorry.
But I was like, okay, if I because it says it's like you're gonna die on this experience. You have a near-death experience. You go through death, and I'm like, okay, if that's happening anyway to me, it's like, I just want to know how it feels, you know. But I didn't think what's actually gonna happen. So I went there and I smoked that stuff.
Oh, so that's how you ingest it? You smoke it? Okay.
Yeah. It's a crystallized stuff you heat up, and as soon as you can smoke it, and what it does, it gets into your lungs. I explain everything on a physical thing because that's how my brain works with the work I've been doing. So I also started to understand a lot on how the physical body works, and I've done so much research on the physical body that I know a lot about it, which is great, right? So I have always fun conversations with doctors. They were like, "Oh, you don't know anyway what I'm talking about." I was like, "No, I know. I know how things work in the body." So what it does, you smoke it, it gets into your lungs. During meditation, through deep breath, the lungs already create DMT. And that is connected to our brain and then to the connectedness to whatever is out there, right? So the DMT just opens everything, and like it shoots up in your brain and it opens the pineal gland, which sits here in the back, which is the third eye, and it opens it that widely. It's like how I have experienced it. It's like I would even dare to say your soul leaves the body, goes through the matrix of this reality, uploads itself to the higher consciousness, and you experience death in the sense of the ultimate connectedness of everything, but you are nothing. You don't exist anymore, but you are still there, right? So. And I came back 25 minutes later, completely, everything was, I don't want to go into the details of what I've seen, but I have worked this experience into this show quite a lot.
Sure.
But it was like I was gone for 10,000 years, and I knew that I went home, and this place is an experience. It's many people say like, oh, life is an illusion. you don't even know what you're talking about until you have until you have gone through such an experience, because you understand that incarnation is a real thing, and that you've been here many times, you know, and then we have gathered information from past lives, for example, as traumatic experiences which are imprinted in the spirit, and the spirit brings it back into the new body, and that creates cellular memory because the nervous system and the cells are connected. And so all the traumatic experiences from the past create the new you when you're born. And we are here to heal ourselves. That is something I started to understand in the months after, and literally the day after I had this experience, I was very happy. The depression I went through was completely gone, because I understood that there was a bigger thing going on, a bigger, how should I say, I had to overcome something. I understood that the universe only gives you things you can actually deal with. And then I was like, all right, let's do this. You know, it's like, and the day after I started to do a very strange way of meditation. First of all, I understood that I understand how meditation really works at this point, and I was able to connect to that, and because before I wasn't, because every time I tried to meditate, I was just like, I saw the storm, like the explosions, the mayhem in my mind, right? Which I always put into my work. So from that, I feel like what I painted and the anger actually came from the crazy storms I had in my mind already my whole life. And that just, through experiences here in this life, it just made it crazier and crazier. And it was time, I understood it was time for me to work that stuff through. And that's why I also got sick, because the next thing is our emotions sit in our gut, and all those things are manifesting physically if you're not letting things go. So anyway, I'm going like many places at one time, but I started doing Tai Chi out of nothing, and the next day started to understand that I can guide energy from my body, and I started to see myself translucent on all the layers. Like when I meditated, I would just close my eyes and I could see the matrix grid and the energy my body was made out of, and I was like, what is actually happening to me? And let's say 8 months later, I had a show at Mirror's Gallery in San Francisco called The Endless Layers to Consciousness. And so that was still very, like a lot of physical stuff, lots of dissections, cross sections, but also during that time I knew I wanted to go deeper. That's why also the title already, like how much can I dissect so I get to a different place of the physical body. And so in that phase I was still in an integration phase of what actually happened, and for 8 months I was in the end in this trip of what the toad medicine did to me, and meditated every day, did Tai Chi for 1.5 hours, been drawing everything what came to me. I had daytime visions and all crazy things. So it was very like a very intense time where I'm like, I understood that there is way more out there than we would ever even be able to see. Like there's so much happening around us constantly with energies and stuff like that. I could feel, when the fire started in San Francisco in 2018, I could literally feel the pain of all the animals. And I was like, what's happening to me? So with the meditation, I was able to like let that go, and it's just I was literally, I felt like a young puppy in a new world. I was like, this is, I knew that already. A lot of things started to answer itself. The things I've been thinking about as a child, and like how I saw the world already in comparison to other people, and the conversations I couldn't have with people who just didn't understand, and that also as a kid already made me feel like I'm this lone wolf, right? And now it suddenly started to make sense. And during this experience, I remember that some entity was telling me, it was like, well, you finally made it. You finally came to visit us. You know, we were waiting for you. It's like you were chosen to come here and to awaken. And that was, I started to lose a lot of weight because the energy literally let go of all that stuff, and I started to draw. I started to draw my visions, and it was still very much anatomy related, but on a different, like there was a lot of, how should I say, like we would call it magic going on, right? So and the more I did that in 2019, in 2018, I finally, like after the show, eventually, I was still very sick, but I had the feeling I found a way to maneuver through all this. And the funny part is the shrink I was talking to in Europe, literally after that experience, she was like, oh, so now we can actually do the real work. And I was like, why? Well, since you know now how energy flows, we can also go deeper. And she told me that she was the most likely the most powerful medium in whole Europe. I was like, how did I end up with you before I even did all this, you know? And then you start to understand, it's like, oh, the universe is moving some things around and looking out for me. And that's when the real work started. And a year later, I figured out that I've been drawing it all along. Like there's drawings here in this show which I did in 2011, and they clearly show my personal spiritual awakening. And that is like almost 10 years before anything happened.
Right.
So it's powerful stuff. And it's like painting is almost like you speak a language, but you haven't learned yet how to read it.
Right. You're a vessel,
yes.
Or a conduit
yes.
that you may not even understand.
Yeah. And I mean, clearly, most of it has to do with those visions I have. And I have visions from my own past and for other people too, and especially souls I've been connected to. So it's like I just understood that I can channel the information to the trauma from the past lives into my work. And I started to understand that me doing that is not just only healing me, but also, since we're all connected, people are going to be connected to it too. There's always an emotional connection to art. That's why we are here to create. That's our purpose. Create other life and create art, and just filter, constantly heal of what we gather in this third dimension. And it's those 10,000 years I was gone, 25 minutes in this reality. It took me like a while to really understand what I just have come to realize more and more and more and more. And this is when the journey for this work started. I eventually sat down and I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna race around the planet now anymore and paint murals like a madman. It's helpful, especially physically. but it's time to really tell this story, and not just for me, for my own healing. I just wanted to sit with it, let it happen, let the silence, spread and the storm come out. And I had a lot of energetic releases during my meditations, and let myself feel the pain. And this is literally what's happening, right? Like you're there and you're screaming it out and you're crying it out, and it literally feels like stuff is running out of you. And this has become like a huge process in this awakening madness. But with the art I can share, and whatever I understood about myself, like how I lived my life, the energies I've been carrying, and what I need to change, literally guided by spirit constantly. It's like, oh, your ego wants to go this way because that sounds like the normal thing to do for you right now. And spirit is like, ooh, little pain here, maybe you should actually go this way. So yeah, this is literally the little introduction to what's happening here. So later when we go through the show, I can show you this. The first part is me dissecting myself, and I understood that too. In as soon as I have understood that everything the artist who paints from his soul paints is a reflection of himself in the moments of time and space. So I always tell, like, don't paint over your paintings. This is you in this moment, because people paint over their old stuff. I'm like, don't, it's part of you right now in this place. So it transforms your emotions and your thoughts in the moment and what you are connected to. And I understood that from 2011 to 2016, I literally just driven through trauma and the anger inside of me. I just tried to find the core by slicing away bits and bits. And then I got there. So yeah.
One of the things that just sort of stands out as I listen to your amazing story, that stands out to me is this notion of accepting responsibility for your health, your happiness, your journey, rather than running away or being scared. You found the courage to double down and go deeper. And I hope folks listening to this will hear that, and I hope they take that into their own lives, because I feel like we're all spiritual beings. I agree, so much of what you are saying resonates with me in my own spiritual journey on a lot of levels, although I haven't done ayahuasca. But the point is that, we are spirits living in a material world, and to quote the police, and I think that we have to. No one's going to do it for us. We have to take responsibility for our own spiritual development and our own health and our own well-being. And your story is such a beautiful one that, because you were up against the worst. I mean, you're looking at death, you were feeling like you're dying, and a lot of folks would have given up at that point, but you didn't.
Yeah, on some part I had to. Yeah. I was forced to give up. I had to, or you give in. You're like,
right.
All right,
Big
I
difference.
can't resist anymore. This resistance that's just whatever. I also found a doctor here. She helps me with microcurrent frequency therapy, which triggers the body's self-healing powers in the end. And she has witnessed and muscle tested me, and everything I'm going through is on a so-called esoteric spirit level. It's all a synchronization of 50,000 years down time, right? So,
Nick, what was your spiritual practice before? I mean, growing up in Austria, I mean, did you have a spiritual practice? Did you go to church, and was there?
I mean, I'm from a very traditional Austrian family. Also, you know, I feel like hunting is more culture and religion than religion itself.
Sure.
It's part of our culture since forever.
Yes.
So my family practices that. My dad does a lot of hunting. My grandfather did a lot of hunting. That's just more like going in the woods and find the peace.
Yes.
Is better than like singing the Hallelujah in a completely wrong way. But still, you know, everyone was very religious till my parents didn't care too much about it. My mom always just felt guilty when she doesn't go to church.
I know my mom too.
That had changed after.
No, but this gets us that idea, right, of like the fact that, you know, there's a difference between spirituality and religion, and nature can play such a key role in connecting to the universe and bigger truth. You know?
No, but as a child already, I was not able to make the connection between the story of Christ and the church itself. I'm like, this feels weird. This feels weird. What is this guy even saying? You know, but yeah. So like, also down the road of past life mayhem, the church and me have not been the best friends. Right. Even though we were.
Well, I could see
fighting for the same thing.
Well, and you know that kind of takes us back around to that notion of people looking at your work and maybe seeing some sort of darkness or some sort of violence to it, and you know, and the overly religious people I've known over the years can be particularly sensitive.
You know, the thing is I don't think that it's even that bad with my work. People are triggered, clearly, especially because I paint in public spaces, but people spiral down in the craziest places in their mind with, like, I paint a dissected shark in San Jose for the San Jose Sharks, and there's this person who comes up, oh my God, this is horrible. I'm like, no, it's nicely painted, but you know what's happening in the world, and Trump. That was literally the next word. I'm like,
oh, jeez.
How is that going on in your mind right now that you're connecting with my dissected shark or a translucent living creature to the problems you are? But it's also good to see that people are faced with their fears, because that is triggering their healing. Right. If they are ready for it. Right.
And I so appreciate that story, you know, because one of the things that I've always appreciated about your work is there's a truth-telling aspect to it. Like I think a lot of folks, you know, it's interesting. Many folks want to eat a delicious steak, but they don't want to know where that steak came from, and they don't want to watch it being butchered or hunted or whatever. And so this idea that it sort of feels like, listening to your story and having observed your career from afar over the last, you know, 10, 15 years or whatever, it's like, your initial work has been this sort of exercise in reverse engineering sort of biological layers, you know, and looking beyond the surface to say, no, guys, you're actually, you know, that's not you. Well, yes, this is you, but all these other things are you too. And now in this new sort of awakened phase, you're sort of taking that to the next logical step, which is like, oh, we're not just biological beings, we're spiritual beings. And you're starting to look through the layers of this of our spiritual selves.
And the funny thing is, like, also, like, remembering or reading old interviews or whatever, I've been always already talking about energies and like how I have observed things, like, but not consciously like talking about spirit or whatever, you know. But now this has come to a completely different awareness. And the funny thing is, like, awareness is a tricky thing because you go through places and things happen, you know, and you see a deeper meaning in the connectedness of everything right away. And it's like, damn, you know, this studio, like one of my friends, he was fixing one of my sculpture. My sculpture was still there, and his whole studio burned down, like last week.
Oh my God, my stomach.
Yes. I was like, because the sculpture is also very much connected to an energy which I already let go of. And I understood completely that whatever he needs to let go of, and I already let go of, and the other guy in the studio, was supposed to let go of, it's now come to a like, you know, and you see like, oh damn, this is forcing you to face yourself. For me, it's a final journey towards this. It has completely come to an end. And the other one, similar. You know, so you see like, oh God, this is all connected. We are all connected. I knew those guys already from before, and we were supposed to meet here in LA. Stuff like this is like, everything is like, and you need to be very careful with not spiraling down in your mind, you know, and start like, so it's constantly coming back down, brooding, meditating, like observing what's going on inside of you, how you react. And how this is, like, how you can, in the end, let go of it. You know, it's crazy, but like, and then here, like what I paint, you know, like this layer, this layer, this layer, it's all like, it's all connected. Clearly I want to show all this stuff, and also knowing that people can connect to this, and then it's like, yeah, I saw this on my acid trip, you know. And it's like, yeah, but there's a reason why you saw this on your acid trip. You're not just running around and experiencing whatever bullshit your brain is telling you. This is actually there. This is all stuff which really exists. And if it doesn't exist in the outside world looking at you, the darker stuff is the stuff you should really look at, because that happens inside of you. So the inner world and the outer world, and how it reflects itself constantly. It's like how the program of the matrix works. And here it is, we are back talking about a computer program made by the universe, where we are, and things are repeating for us, because we vibe in that sense. And until we let it go, so we change our path if we come to the awareness of that. So it's that is healing in the end, right? So it's like, you know, and then trying to put this into paintings is a real challenge, but it's also a lot of fun.
Yes, yes. Well, Nychos, I'll tell you what, this is a perfect time for us to wrap up the podcast episode of this conversation, and I would love for you to take me around the gallery and talk to me about that process.
Let's do that.
In this show.
Excellent.
All right, Nychos. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah.